So here I'm just talking about getting the technical flat template and, putting style lines on here. When you have a technical flat template and you have and you get this piece of tracing paper over it, I'll give you a minute to kind of set yourselves up here. I'll pause this for just a moment. So the thing is that, on a copy or on a piece of tracing paper, you can start putting what are commonly known style lines on here. Like, say for example, a lot of times you've got a t-shirt neckline right here, so that'd be like a crew neck. You can do like a scoop neck. I like to put dotted lines in here. There's also a V. Okay. We're going to be going over the different kinds of necklines and stuff, but there's also a sweetheart, which kind of goes like that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So, on the tracing,
Let me get this back on the screen. Okay. So, now's when, if you've already put your tracing paper over this, you can get going here. I'm going to remove this, but you know that I'm referring to this. I'm referring to this, okay? I just have my own personal one, which you are encouraged to do, but it's not mandatory. Some of you guys work from templates, some of you don't. So let me start this back up again. I think I never stopped. Okay, so that's going to be a long video. Sorry about that. So the thing is like I said, you don't have, if we look at the module, the images that are on the first slide for Module 6, what you want to do is you want to try to map out these garment proportions. Now, I changed my mind just to challenge ourselves. I am going to use the ones that you have. Okay? So we're going to look at this lady with the skirt on. Okay? So first of all, let's just do it because this is going to be very easy. If we want to map out, and this you are going to be turning in on tracing paper. Now since it's on a technical flat template, we do not have to worry about drawing the body in here. Okay? Just the clothes. So I've chosen really simple garments here. And so let's just start with the top. Right up here, she's got kind of a crew neck there, okay? It may be a little bit wider.
the white shirt?
The white shirt, I'm sorry, I'm working from on the left, on the skirted figure, okay? So over here, she does have a form-fitted figure here. And so, and she's got her arms down, so I'm just going to use the one that has the arms down. And we can see that this garment goes right to her wrists. It's also relatively form-fitting. So I'm just going to follow along with my technical flat template. Now, on a technical flat template, I'm going to assume that there is a seam right here, even though it's white and hard to see. Now, when you guys are probably going to only do technical flats in Apparel Computer, but I do require hand-drawn ones, and it's always nice to draw them by hand. I'm just going to say that this is pretty form-fitting right to the skirt, and then I'm going to use that line to create that top garment. Now, that wasn't very difficult, okay? The thing is that we have to pretend that we are seeing this flat. Well, we don't get a whole lot of information on that top thing because we're assuming that it's going to be knitwear and that it is going to be hugging the body. So if this garment were laying flat, one thing that we would do back here is we would account for the fact that you could see the inside of it. If you were drawing this in Apparel Computer, the interior of a garment is always going to be shaded in with gray. I'm not going to worry about that here, just FYI. We used to draw all our technical flats by hand. Next thing we're going to look at is we're going to look at this skirt. And this is where kind of the challenges start to come in. But we do see her knee. And so just guessing here, I would say that about halfway, maybe a little bit higher than halfway. So we've got, here's our proportions here. I'm going to say that maybe a little bit above the halfway mark is where this skirt is going to be. Now, as we discussed on Wednesday, you want to round that out. Okay? Even if it's lying there flat, you're going to round that out. However, this is not going to be shapewear, okay? This isn't like one of those beach cover-ups that you can just pull up or something like that. This actually has some structure to it. So you want to make your lines come out a little farther than the actual body here. Now, as far as the top goes, we can have that meet the shirt portion of the garment. But we're going to make this into a garment that has a little bit more fabric coming out along here. Now, this type of garment that comes out like this is known as an A-line. Okay, those of you who have been around a lot know been around garments or sewing a while know what an A-line skirt is, okay? That means that it does come out like that. Now, if it were laying flat, we'd also want to communicate some of the fact that there's going to be a little bit extra fabric here. Now, what this looks like to me is kind of a corduroy look. I'm going to completely ignore that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to put a few lines to indicate where that extra fabric might be falling, okay? So you can simply look at this and get that information. Now, I also see, and this is very difficult to see, so anything that's hard to see, I ain't gonna require you to put it down here. I think there might be a seam in the middle. I'm not, it seems like it's kind of hard to look at. So, but the thing what you've got here is that's your finished product, okay? Pretty easy, right? Pretty easy. What this is going to do, and I am going to pause this for just one moment, are handy to have around when you are looking at mapping out any kind of garment proportion, okay? So we're going to be advancing to more sophisticated garments as we go along, but using this will help you make sure that you aren't making a mini skirt that is actually going down to the knee, or I could go on there, all right? So the thing is that you can also take, because some people just want to start to think about their figure, okay? You can also put style lines on your figure to make a template, okay? So your templates kind of be like a paper doll. So if I were to use this on my figure, instead, I'd just go ahead and do the same thing. There's the crew neck. There's her body parts there. There's the roundedness at the waist. And there's that A-line skirt. So you get accustomed to translating your basic garment proportions from the template and being able to kind of map that out on a regular pose like that. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is that In this module, we're going to talk about sketching pants. And you can actually put this on the same piece of paper, or you can get another piece of tracing paper and start that other one, and let me find my tracing paper for just one moment. Now we're going to be looking at the figure of the right, which is going to be in, like I said, on that first image slide in your Module 6 thing here. But we're going to start out on top with this figure because this is also a relatively easy mapping out to do. So, are we ready? All right, so the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to map out that t-shirt. I put it a little bit down from the collar there, or from the actual original one I have. I'm going to assume that the sleeves are going to be right here at the shoulder for this t-shirt. One thing that I'm going to do that I did not do for the other thing, because this is less form-fitting, this is more like a t-shirt, and so I'm going to map out where that t-shirt line goes. It's going to come out about to where that breast is, but I'm making it wider than the arm because the standard tee is like that. It has, because your t-shirt, you know, the name comes from the looking like a T, generally looks like that, so it gives some room to put that arm in and collapse like that. Now we also see that this is tucked in, so I'm just going to make a little bit more fabric and make it come out and then come in at that waistline. And these are pretty high-waisted jeans, okay? Now, we're just doing the pants, these right now. So, but this is denim, and we're going to assume that this denim is not a stretch denim, okay? That this is just regular denim. So, what we can do here, because our template kind of gives it to us, we could actually like map out our waistband here, okay? We can also kind of map out where that button is. You can also, because the template gives you this information, this is a great place to put in those belt loops. And from that belt loop on a standard pair of jeans, you're also going to get this pocket going. We're going to go into the pockets and details later. I'm just showing you because it's right in front of us. And then you've also got a seam going all the way to the crotch, but the fly itself actually comes up like that. Don't worry if you can't get that right now. We're going to go more into that later. Of course, we're going to stop at the crotch there. What we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to allow a little bit of room. We see that these pants are not coming all the way down to the ankle, so I'm just going to put them about there to leave a little bit of room for the leg. Okay, the ankle would be down here. And because we're going to assume that this is not a stretch fabric, I'm going to put it a little bit larger than the leg. I'm not making this into one of those big baggy looks, but I am giving it enough room so that we know that the person can put their leg through there. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Now, if I'm sitting at home creating styles for myself, this also gives you the opportunity to say, hey, you know, I want something wider. I want something that goes all the way to the floor, etc., etc. Okay? This also gives you the opportunity to say, hey, I want a pedal pusher. I want a short, etc., etc. Okay? So over here, because this is going to be laying flat, and you kind of do want to let your person know, or it's a technical flat originally was something that you would send to the garment manufacturer. So if you have a little bit of extra fabric, as I can see there down towards the leg, You can put that on there. You can also see that there's going to be some extra fabric that will be bending a little bit at the knee. You're also going to see that there's going to be some extra places where there will be lines that will bunch up around the crotch. And I see that my right leg is a little bit less. But so the thing is that one thing that you can take from this is that drawing pants is not a whole lot different from drawing the skirts that we talked about the other day. It's just bifurcating this. Bifurcating, it means splitting in half. So you're just taking that skirt and splitting that in half. By the way, this is a brand new pigment liner and it's already given me trouble, so this generic one from Amazon is not the way to go. So anyway, what you've done is you've just basically mapped out your first garments. So that's the end of this exercise, and I just wanted to show you how to use that as a reference, okay? So